Excuse me. Pardon me.
Hey, sit down. Breaking news!
What is going on, Internet? This is going to be basically a part 2 sequence. We're going to do a little bit of a breaking news break with this and actually take a look at the kind of Godzilla toys and get some in-depth information. I'm going to point out some details that you guys might not have ever even thought about or seen, because a lot of these licensed toys have to be really scrutinized, and they pay attention to these things in quite large detail to make sure that they come across with the film. Even though that the film is like more of an adult prospect and stuff, Godzilla is Godzilla, and it makes toys, and usually they're always amazing. So we can see this logo here, got the classic style, reminds me of the Wolverine, and some awesome stuff. But let's actually take a look at the new toys that they're doing. These are the 12 to 15 inch toys. Extreme amount of detail. You can see all the different scales. You can see more of a smooth stomach, only 3 fingers on the hands, and a thumb, and then these kind of more dinosaur feet, which is kind of amazing for Godzilla if you actually think about it. And we got this kind of tail, and it's a little bit of a different perspective right here. Sorry, the image will cut in and out for quality, but as you can see here, the body length is crazy long because of this massive tail. It's a little bit more massive than the original Godzilla, and bigger, stockier legs, which doesn't really fit the tokusatsu sort of style, but it is a very interesting kind of focus, and it almost kind of pays homage to how much detail they put into it. If you actually look at the skin and kind of the spikes and everything about it, has some very interesting features about it. You can actually see from the face as well. It seems like the teeth come into the actual face. Now, if we actually take a look on the other side, we still get this almost cat-like feature, but it's more elongated. So it's very reminiscent of old school tokusatsu Godzilla. Tokusatsu is the Japanese special effects where the guy actually got in a suit. And you get a more shorter, stubby arms, which is a little bit different than what we see with the old Godzilla films. And, you know, a lot of the battles were very much hand-to-hand, almost sumo-like combat. And the big thing here is it looks like Godzilla will be more whipping his tail, walking around, and using more powerful legs. So that's going to really come across in the movie, and when we look at action, you're going to see probably a lot of mouth biting. We haven't seen any really like power blasts or anything come out of Godzilla yet, but you can definitely see from this structure, you're going to get a lot of more of its fighting capabilities coming down from the lower waist, and that could play a big effect, because when we actually take a look at Mutos, there's a big difference there. And if we actually move along to the next image, you can see from the back, it just is so long. Godzilla is such a long, massive beast, and is so much bigger than what we usually have been seeing him as in previous old school films coming out of Japan, from the more nuclear age and stuff like that. But you definitely see this like more heavy armor look, which is totally awesome. I love the new designs. I love kind of this more dinosaur-y look, the kind of more dinosaur feet, to give it more of a realistic feel, but still holding on to that, you know, detail that's coming across through things like tokusatsu, that it inspired this whole entire thing, which is incredibly amazing when you think about it. And this image right here shows you the massive amount of diversity that Godzilla actually has in this movie and its character design. Because if you look here, you get that more of the beak-like shape mixed with a cat, and then this whole more lizard-like structure in the body, as you can see in the mouth. Here, you can't really see any of the kind of, I want to say, the thin skin that's in between the mouth. But when we move on to the chibi figures that I'm going to show you in a second, those are very much showing that, but you definitely can see a good image of these feet, a little bit mutated, a little bit different, and then those scales. These right here, I think, are perfect examples of shrinking down all the proportions for the chibi figures. You can tell right here, these are kind of more action-y shots that they got, that they were basically licensed for these toys. And you can see here, like, how his jaw and his actual mouth kind of comes up with the teeth. The teeth are very much prominent right up to the lips, pronounced nostrils, very like craggy rock-like scales in the back that we know from Godzilla, but he has this more kind of armory, armadillo look right here, and going all the way up to the arms. But you can see right here it's a bit smoother, the arms are a bit smoother, but the legs are more heavily armored as well. So I'm guessing that's also going to be a part of his lower body battle. Also, his tail is very massive. They shortened it up for the chibi figure, obviously, to keep it small and condensed. but it still has a very, very unique look, and you can tell how this transfers to the larger models that they've done. But Mutos over here is extremely interesting because this is the big contrast, and I think this is what's going to be coming out of the movie. Mutos is a very sleek, has these kind of red lines, almost futuristically looking monster. The jaw is more prominent, but the body is a lot smaller in favor of kind of like this sleeker, 6 appendage walking. And we're going to actually take a look at it right now. The kind of difference here with this next one, where you can actually see the wingspan. You notice the wings went from the front to the back, so you can actually kind of get a different way of style of how this is going to be walking in favor of using these as kind of its launch arms and maybe the attack arms. And it's kind of interesting because Godzilla has such short range with his arms, and this, and Mutos, as his adversary in monster battling, is going to have that kind of advantage. You can also see longer, leaner legs, which is crazy interesting when you actually think about how the dynamics of a battle between these two will happen. We see Mutos flying in the trailer. I pointed out a lot of those different things, and then just knocking planes out of the sky while he's up there. So that's really interesting to see, and the scale. Now let's move on to the actual playsets. Now the playsets show a lot of different things coming into play. We actually see a very good detailed image. It looks like Godzilla's got some real battle damage, and you can actually see this kind of look, the more smoother chest, but that's really defined scaly arms, more heavily shadowed obviously, but you can kind of get an idea from the toy right here, which has that more sleeker lizard design. In these sort of images though, the legs are more upright, and you can see it's a lot longer, but the arms are a little bit longer for these smaller toys, but I don't think that you're going to get that by much. But the more interesting thing is when they were doing a 1-to-1 scale of Mutos here and Godzilla. Mutos is way, way smaller. We know he has a smaller body, smaller frame and stuff with a longer reach, but that is really interesting to kind of see that contrast here in a small playset. Kind of give an idea of what's inside the playset, but you can get these kind of scaled, how big these buildings are compared to these giant monsters. And like when Bryan Cranston's character says in the movie trailer, it could send everybody back to the Stone Age. I actually kind of find it funny though that the kind of boats, and we'll see later the helicopter, are a lot bigger than they should be in scale comparison, because that's ridiculous compared to these things. But as we move along, you can there's a lot of detail going into these. I always find it funny that they choose green for the buildings, but they're gray in the back of the box. But here's the playset actually put together. This is what I was talking about, the scale. A helicopter would probably be about from here to here. It's not as big as this, segment of the bridge, and this boat too, unless this is a massive military boat. But you can actually just see just how large Godzilla is compared to Mutos. And Godzilla is standing, pretty firm with that, and then Mutos actually has more of a point. We haven't actually seen kind of more of the back of Mutos, but he does have like this kind of, I want to say, pterodactyl kind of thing. But you can also see here, just like in the chibi figures, that those wings are coming ahead and walking with the front arm appendages that go lower when it goes into this kind of flight mode. And you can also get this great sense of scale from the buildings that are in the background when it's put together. Now, if we actually sit and take a look at the back of the box, we're going to get this. We could see that they went originally with gray, but you can see how the planes are. They made them obviously a lot larger because with a small set like this would be just way, way, way too small to have a bunch of those. And this thing already has a choking hazard, but you could just definitely see right here Mutos, Godzilla having a big fight and battling it out. And it's really interesting. See, you can see right here more clearly that point, the red, the more techno sleek feel. And this is definitely an allegory for Godzilla being this old school tokusatsu based monster in all the movies that we know and love. First, this new era of CGI monsters that are very Cloverfield-esque, that are very sleek, winged sometimes, and are more based on total destruction. It's going to be interesting to see if Godzilla is really the bad guy that they're going to make him out to be, and that, Mutos is maybe a military experiment gone wrong, who knows, to battle Godzilla. We can only take guesses at this point, but this actually gives some really defining detail, and I think that this should get everybody pumped. Just get these nice, clean details in there and take a look. And you know what? Tell us what you think. If you like this, hit the like, hit the subscribe, post a comment. Tell us what you think compared to the last video where we did the Rewind Theater about Godzilla. And thanks for watching. Let's all go see this in the movies and get hyped because this looks really cool. And no matter where your stance is, if you like or hate it, this is going to be a more historical kind of thing in the Godzilla canon universe. Got some great people in it. Bryan Cranston, got Watanabe in there. Both really fine actors, and I think that this is going to be amazing. So, thanks for watching, guys, and see you in the movies.